It's nice to meet you.
That's Angela.
Nice to meet you too.
Good. Do you like my picture behind me? Look,
You see Angela's picture?
the cartoon girl. Isn't she cute?
Can you see?
Can you see? Look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Granddad put some fun pictures behind him. Maybe he can find you a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go and have a snack now. You get Granddad to make you a snack.
Yeah,
What's
ice
your
cream's
favourite
good.
snack?
Ice cream. Definitely ice cream.
Yes.
Is it? What's your favourite flavour?
Vanilla.
Vanilla's not a flavour.
Yes.
No. Gumdrops is a flavour.
Vanilla is a flavour.
No, vanilla's
It
not
is.
a
Where have
flavour.
you
It is
been?
a flavour.
I agree.
It's not.
No, no, no.
You know what I heard the other day? You know, Mr. Whippy, when he makes that music, that means he's run out of ice cream. That's what I heard.
Oh,
That's
cool.
because that man there has eaten all the ice.
Johnny, if you want to know something pretty special, I agree with Angela that Goody Goody Gumdrops is the best ice cream in the world, but that's because, do you know why? My dad invented the lollies that go into that ice cream.
Did he invent wine gums?
He was the first tube supplier to Goody Goody Gumdrops back in the day when it was New American. It was a special. When I say invented it, he created a special kind of tube that went into the ice cream.
I think you've just lost Johnny.
No,
No creed.
Wow. I'm going to go and have a snack now, Johnny. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Bye. There, we're going to turn that off.
Hey, my arm went.
Yeah.
I got everybody on board, sort of thing, or no? Amy?
Apologies.
Is everybody there, sort of thing?
Probably about a minute to come back.
Staff, there's some Sean Hickey, will we be able to release some of that into public now?
Yes.
With the redacted, so I might ask you to explain that with the redacted elements of commercialism.
Yes, so those decisions can be made public. The bit we don't want to go into the public domain is the attachments that had the specific capital projects and that we kind of deemed to be risk. So, but the inflation assumption, that can be public.
Okay, cool. Because I know, and apology, right, are we ready to start, everyone? And apologies to the media who have been waiting to get in, and hopefully they are in, and hopefully they just did hear what Sean said around we will be releasing.
Procedurally, Mayor Paula, will that reflect the vote? Because it was a very close vote, 6-7. Do we do that now?
Well, it'll be in Sean, it'll be open.
Wasn't it unanimous, Ewan?
No, it
No,
wasn't, buddy.
Wasn't.
I'm waiting Mish's advice on exactly
okay.
what gets released.
I think you'll
Yeah.
find though that wasn't it there just
Hmm?
a small number dissenting
No,
on the
let's
motion?
not go there.
I need
No,
it.
so
We'll
that
talk
it was
about-
6-7, Maxine.
No,
The
12-2.
amendment.
What will be released, what was
Semantics,
resolved to
Dave.
be released was D, along with some of the background information. So that's what will be included as part of the minutes, and we'll include D in the actual, as we work through the rest of the recommendations, so that we'll show it up on the screen at the appropriate time.
Right, good. Okay. And all, Julie, direct us to where we are now on the open minutes, because
Yes, if we go back to the open session and go back to the resolutions B1 and B2, we suggested maybe take those together for debate and voting on. We just have one recommended change to B1, which is the climate change and sustainability resource. That was an error. It wasn't actually passed as a resolution of council. It was just in the GM's report. We're happy to take that out of this section and put it under the staff proposal sections under G. Amy's done those changes, as you can see, to the resolutions.
so what page are the resolutions on again? Just let me see
They
those.
are on. Sorry, I just need to open my diligent again.
198.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just loading that up, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Paul, are you taking more
There we go.
questions on these or?
Yeah, I will.
Great.
We did have a lot of debate yesterday on the various bits and pieces between 2 and 3, but I will take some questions. We won't go over everything we've been before.
Your worship, procedurally, you will put each of them individually.
I'm just coming to that. I know Julie said it would be lovely to get them done all together. And I was going to say, I know, I was going to say that is very optimistic, and I applaud you for your optimism, but that won't be happening. So yes, we'll have to do them one by one. But please, councillors, we've had our questions. We understand the proposition. So questions for clarity, and then we'll go into a very straightforward debate. Keep your debate to the minimum you need to explain your position, because we need to get through some actual decisions. Councillor Bunting.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the Environment Committee one. Did you say that's moved into a staff recommendation?
Yes, we're saying we will put it in section G, where the staff recommendations are, and it will become.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So just on that, and I'm sorry, Sean, this is a question that just won't go away. I'm talking about the $100,000 that was allocated somewhere else and now is allocated there. Does that mean that we are now allocating $100,000 less somewhere else, so it's become cost neutral?
No, it was simply there should have been $250,000 in the budget this year, and there was in fact 150. So
Okay.
what was agreed by the council was 250, but what actually got loaded was 150.
Oh, I see. Right. Thank you.
Right, cool. Question, that's it. Let's receive the report, but that's pretty pro forma. So all of those who want to receive the report, just tick your little red little box and we can put that off. Everyone? Mark Donovan? Just receiving the report. Martin, just receiving the report.
Bishop Ryan, is he there?
I don't know. Ryan, are you there? No, he's not there yet. So all in favour, any opposed? Nobody
The motion is
opposed.
carried unanimously.
Okay, so now we're on to 2B, which improves, and I'm going to take Roman numerals 1, set by exception. Is there anything that anybody wants to talk about in Roman numerals 1A to E? Can you let me know? Can you clear the text, please, Amy? Anything?
Yeah, Paul, I think A has disappeared.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Amy, could you put up the resolution just to help with that?
Yeah,
so A
that would
has
be good.
disappeared and also C has disappeared. So we're just left with the Beale Cottage, the City Water Sludge contract and the regional, sub-regional project.
Pop it up, would you, Amy, please?
Hold on. So where's the climate change sustainability?
It's
resource?
moved down to G, recommendation number G, which is still to come.
Okay.
On 2G, 3G, I mean.
It's actually a staff recommendation, Ewan.
You and we're still confused, so can we show where it is? What's the numbering of where it sits now?
Is it on page 200, Paula?
I don't know.
It will be on page 201.
Yeah, just yeah.
Okay.
Has that been moved? B Roman numerals 1. I'm happy to if no one has.
Thank you. Nobody has yet, Mark, so you may move that.
Thank you. And that's just what's on the page there.
So I'm asking if there's anything by exception, if otherwise it's B Roman numerals 1 and all that it includes. Okay. Which is what you see there now on the screen. Everybody happy with that? You've moved it. Is there a seconder, please?
Yeah.
Sorry, who's that?
Me.
Sarah, second. Thank you. Right, we'll go to debate. I'm sure there's. Oh, you got a question, Jeff?
Sorry, Paula. Yeah. Look, it just snuck up on me. The sub-regional Three Waters project, that was our joint thing with Waipa, is that right? In the south of the city, is that right? That work?
Yeah, correct. It covers the Three Waters. So it's a couple of components, which is our wastewater detailed business case in the south of the city and also at the north of the city.
Thanks,
but
Chris.
it's also the other two waters as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, Paula.
Okay, we'll go to the debate. Mark, do you have anything to say on it?
Very little to say, just on the understanding of the answer that Jeff just asked here, because I wouldn't be supporting it otherwise. But yes, I think this is one of the less controversial ones. So happy to get this over the line or get us started.
Thank you. Any further debate from anyone at all? No, let's go to the tick or the cross, please.
I won't exercise my right of reply.
Oh, do you want to
I won't. Other than to compliment the previous speaker.
The motion is carried unanimously.
The speediest thing we've done in 2 days. Well done, everyone. So now we're on to 2 Roman numerals 2. Could you put up what we're looking at, please? So it's all in one place.
So this is on the bottom of 198 and 199.
Got it. It's hard to span 2 pages sometimes. Okay. Any questions? Can you clear the text, please, Amy?
Mayor Paula, obviously we're just doing Roman numerals 2A, right?
We can do it that way, but I was calling for exception really more than anything. Is there anything?
Yeah, no, I want to call the electricity, the maintenance. I think we're best to do each of them individually, Mayor Paula.
Right. Okay, well, let's keep
Agree with you. And
all right, we'll do that. Let's just keep the debate to the minimum, and because we have been over this stuff once before. So 2 Roman numerals 2A, the Zoo Waiwhakarehi Natural Heritage Park, I'll also move. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Bunting. Any questions, debate? I don't have to debate. Any debate from you, Mark? No. Should we go to the tick or the cross, please? Jeff? Amy, where are we at?
Motion is carried unanimously.
Perfect. All right, we're on to Roman numerals 2B. Don't go 2B or not to be marked. Electricity costs. Okay. Now,
Good for Paula.
it was quite quick, wasn't it, for me, really?
No me for too long.
Electricity costs, someone move. I'll move. Councillor Hamilton seconds. And I've just caught Ewan's disease. Any debate? I don't need to debate it. Oh, I'll debate it insofar as saying it's one of the pressures that, excuse me, it's one of the pressures that we're feeling in the community. Energy, food, transport, it's all on the upward trend. It's difficult, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, it is what it is. I actually support some of the earlier exploration we had in questions, which is around more sustainability, around generation of power and energy efficiency. I know that the organisation has already done quite a bit around quite a bit around energy efficiency, but I believe there's more we can do and more we need to do. And I support, I think it was, I can't remember who councillors raised it, but I support looking at the use of this building, of course, and what that means for electricity. But as we heard from staff, it's things like water services and pools and those kind of things that use far more energy than this building. Having said that, we should leave no stone unturned to be energy efficient. Finished. Councillor Thompson.
Very emotional delivery, Paula.
It was.
Yeah, sorry, it was pet. It was a pet.
Thank you. I support Mayor Paula's comments, and I think along with the energy efficiency, it's looking at how do we increase energy independence, potentially, at least having a good look at that. And as prices push upwards, and there may be a stronger business case for that, particularly also as the cost of solar keeps going downwards. And so we're hoping to do that work through the Environment Committee, and Martin and I will pick that up again to see what progress we can make. But it's fantastic to hear, for example, that the Transport Centre, we're looking at the option of solar panels on there. And certainly I think that constantly re-looking at how we do things is really important.
Thank you. Councillor McPherson.
Yeah, look, while I understood the staff's arguments they put forward in response to my questions and other questions this morning, I'm disappointed at the lack of thinking outside the box there. I've been hearing for probably 7 or 8 years that the capital expenditure for solar power, for instance, doesn't make business sense in that year, in that triennium, in that LTP. And the problem with that is in any one year or any one short period, it won't make a business case sense. But had we put it in those 5 or 6 years ago, we'd be laughing now. So I think you need to reflect on that. There's never a great time to change. You've got to set your horizon a bit further forward than councils traditionally do, and then you can start achieving some of the savings and some of the sustainability outcomes that you want. And it is a mixture of efficiency and a different way of generating. But there's also another area which clearly had not been looked at all, and that is different means of financing it, public-private partnerships in this area. Now, traditionally, we've only looked at that when we're providing a new community hall or road or something like that. But perhaps we need to start thinking about that sort of thing for all of council's operations. And this is a clear area where that's actually possible right now to do. So I'm not going to oppose this. I'm just going to say, if I see that sort of thinking the next LTP, then I'll be quite vociferous about needing to look at a completely different way of doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gallagher.
Yes, without muddying the pure water, as you know, we're going to be discussing later the resourcing around climate change and the Environment Committee. I think what Councillor Sarah and Councillor Dave highlight, of course, is the fact that we are now facing a new paradigm, if that's the word, and certainly this council is going to be facing some really major strategic forward-thinking issues in terms of the next long-term plan. And as Dave McPherson says, when he is there around the table of the long-term plan in a couple of years' time, hopefully, you know, he wants to see some really good long-term strategic thinking. So I think this is an example of where, if you like, necessity and reality have absolutely caught up with us, and certainly so I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Councillor Pascoe.
Yes, I'll be supporting this too, but I think there are some very simple ways that we can save on our electricity costs that won't involve any capital investment, and that's to make sure that lights are turned off and air conditioning and heating are turned off when there's nobody on the floor or in the building. And I often see when I drive past at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, I see whole floors of lights on in the building. So I think in these times of some degree of constraint and the need to preserve or to reduce and be more efficient around our costs, we need to do those simple tasks. And I think there's a strong case for a direction from us and all staff to do exactly those things.
Thank you. Councillor Bunting.
Thank you. I'll support this a little bit grumpily, actually. I'm a little bit disappointed in a couple of aspects of what we discovered. I remember last term when the LED lights were proposed to us and they're all the new thing, and we were assured that they were going to save us lots and lots and lots of money in electricity. And a question I asked of one of staff earlier on was about that, and it came in with, you know, oh yeah, the electricity is down, but the replacement value is up, so it's kind of neutral. So I kind of think, wow, we've missed an opportunity there, or I don't think we've kind of, I don't know if we got sold the right thing there at that point. So I'm a bit disappointed about with that. I was also a little bit disappointed that we didn't see how it could flex. It's either we approve this or we don't approve this. I didn't see a lot of willingness to change in our behaviours, like, you know, Rob says, turning the lights off and saving more electricity. But I am going to have to support it because I realise the nature of what we're going to expect of electricity is going to change very, very soon. Obviously, we're going to try and generate it potentially through Puketi, through solar, all that sort of stuff. But we're also going to use a heck of a lot more of it if we're going to electrify our fleet. So I guess it's better to have it budgeted in there. But I would really like to examine this perhaps a little bit more closely over the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Van Ooston.
Thank you. I learned an awful lot during the question time earlier in the day about our usage of power, and I learned that the most obvious places that I thought would be our buildings and air conditioning, etc., weren't the places where we had the highest spend, and that a lot of it's around our wastewater, our water treatment, absolutely our street lights, etc., and that we are a growing city and we need to expect that those costs will increase. I also learned that this isn't your usual kind of inflation adjustment. It's out of the ordinary, and the whole of the sector are impacted by it. So to be able to account for it separately is a really responsible thing to do, and in a very realistic way. So I'll be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Any further debate? Not being any, let's go to the tick or cross, please.
Is there a grumpy tick for Mark?
Yeah, I'm frowning while I do it.
The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. That brings us now to C, which is the FMG Stadium Waikato Maintenance Adjustment. We discussed this. Can you clear the text, please, Amy? Any questions? Do I have a move for that?
I'll move.
Thank you, Councillor Ewan. Seconded, Councillor Pascoe. Or any debate? No. Let's go to the tick or cross, please. Dave.
I've been consistently saying till the rugby gives us some test matches, they can get stuffed.
Excellent.
Councillor Hamilton, are you still there?
Councillor Hamilton?
No, he said he stepped away.
Yeah.
Lovely
The motion
diplomatic
is carried.
language in the public arena. At least we know where Dave Mack stands on this issue.
Okay, moving on. Number D, Information Services Security. Somebody to so move.
I will.
Councillor Pascoe and seconded Councillor McPherson. Any debate, Councillor Pascoe? Oh, you got.
Well, sorry, did you used the word question, Mayor?
Oh, I thought we did our questions all earlier.
No. Just do a quick clarification and a one sentence summary.
Sure.
You know why this is utterly crucial. I think I know why, but just in a one sentence summary, please. In terms of the quantum.
Why can I DHB?
Absolutely, that's probably an adequate answer.
Is that you, Sean? Sean?
David,
Murray?
I think.
David.
So it's to do with cybersecurity, and it's to further improve our footprint given the increased cyber attacks that we're facing. So it's all about putting more controls in place to protect council information.
No, I get that. And are you satisfied that this year, obviously there's an LTP, there's next year, this year, that quantum is, and I know I just want to be assured, if you'd like, that in terms of this recommendation, this quantum lands it. I mean, given the incredibly moving situation we're now in.
Yeah, probably. I see Murray's just popped up. He can probably give a bit more background to this.
Yes, this quantum, after doing our audit and looking at the technology we have in place, this covers off what we need to do to enhance our ability to protect, prevent, detect, and respond and recover to cyber events, including the escalation in the current situation with Ukraine and Russia.
And I obviously respect this has been through our audit and risk as well, of course.
Thank you. Any debate?
Are we paying it in Bitcoin?
Okay, let's go to the tick or the cross, please.
Not every one of them's a winner.
Those Russian hackers.
Okay, now we're going to E, which is the landfill provision. Do we have a mover? Can you pop the ticks down, please, Amy? Angela, Councillor O'Leary will move. Seconder, please. Councillor Bunting. Any debate? Councillor
I've got
O'Leary?
a question.
Oh, okay, question.
Look, to Eva-Lisa, I guess. Eva-Lisa, if you're there. Many years ago, we had a landfill aftercare fund, which we were putting money into each year. So I'm wondering whether this ties in with that or what's happened to that. I mean, we were talking one that I think we had $500,000 going in a year at one point.
Oh, yes, I am. So hopefully Tracy is there, and that is exactly what this fund is. So it's the adjustment made to make sure we have the appropriate provisions in there for the ongoing aftercare of our closed landfills. So it's a finance question.
Yep, Tracy's giving the thumbs up, so that's great. What I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela, do you need to debate this in any way? No. Anyone else debate? No. We'll go to the tick or the cross, please. Amy?
The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, we're now on to F, which is the insurance premium and adjustment. Do I have a mover, please? Oh, any questions? No, we have discussed. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Pascoe, Councillor Van Oosten. Any debate? No. Let's go to the tick or the cross, please.
The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now move on to G, which is the remuneration authority, and I'll move this just because we have no choice in the matter. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor O'Leary, thank you. Can we remove the crosses, please, Amy? Sorry.
And the ticks.
Yeah, ticks, sorry. Just any debate on this, I'll just start off as the mover, just saying, look, the remuneration authority decides this and we can't give it back, nor can we reallocate it, so we can't spend it on anything else. It is what it is. And if we can't send it back really either. So, but if we do, then it's of no benefit to Hamilton in any case. It's one of those conundrums where we don't have a lot of say over the remuneration authority. Yeah. Councillor Van Oosten, did you want to debate? No? No. Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, let's go to the tick or the cross, please.
The motion is carried, noting Councillor Pascoe is dissenting.
And you didn't want to debate it.
No,
Okay.
no. Very good election ploy.
H, Waka Kotahi National Land Transport Plan. Move, please. Can we have the six down as well, thanks? Sarah's moving. Seconding, please. Who's seconding this? Councillor O'Leary. All right, any debate? No. All right, let's go to the tick or the cross. Oh, Martin.
Question, yeah. So just remind, this of course is, obviously we've discussed that this is essentially what we call consequential.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Debate, no. Go to the tick or the cross, please.
The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. I is Peacock Bridge contract. Any questions, please? No, no questions. Do we have a mover? Councillor McPherson, seconder, please. Councillor Gallagher. Any debate? Can we put the crosses down, Amy, please? The ticks. Okay. Any debate? There being none, let's go to the ticks or the crosses, please. Okay. Now we're on to C. The changes to
Sorry,
the
can
envelope.
I just call that one? I just needed the last one to pop up. The motion is carried, noting
sorry.
Councillor Bunting is dissenting.
Okay, excellent. Okay, we're on to C now. Is there anything to say on this from a staff perspective, please?
Thank you, Mayor Southgate. Just we'll add to C, number 4, which is the resolution that you passed in PX in relation to changing our inflation assumptions and the financial impact of those. And Amy will put this up so you can see that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. You can see it there. Questions? Questions, preferably not redoing all the questions that we did in public excluded, but also because you will have a chance for debate, and that will be your opportunity to express your strong feelings. Questions? Oh.
Isn't that incorrect? Isn't the motion incorrect? It was 5%.
Yeah, it was 5 and 5. Yeah.
Darn, we would have got away with it if it wasn't for you pesky kids.
Yeah, that was Ewan's one. We were just going to stay silent and say nothing.
I have fixed that one. Apologies.
Okay, so do we
Good
question,
try,
Dave?
Ewan.
Question, Councillor McPherson?
Yeah, thanks. In relation to C3, the Nydia High projections, for the purpose of planning and development, are staff aware that Future Proof is currently discussing the possibility of varying the Nydia High projections on the grounds that we received a number of submissions? I didn't even have to say a word to suggest that Nydia High was the wrong level of projection for the growth areas of the Future Proof partners, including Hamilton.
Staff?
Mayor Paul, I was just checking if Blair is available yet.
Yes.
Otherwise, thank you.
Look, I might just have to get, sorry, I was on a telephone call in relation to another matter. Can you just please repeat the question, Councillor Dave?
Yeah, are staff aware that the Future Proof Implementation Committee, who've just held the hearings into the plan, Future Proof plan, are considering, and no decisions have been made yet, submissions from a number of parties, and I made the point that I didn't have to say a word, suggesting that the Nydia High growth projection figures for the growth areas of the Future Proof partners are too low, are wrong, and they should be projecting higher growth. So that was the first question.
So there have been submissions advanced by at least two parties questioning the some of the growth projections for Future Proof. Yes.
And the Future Proof delegates, myself included, on behalf of the City Council, have asked Future Proof staff to look into this further and come up with some possible options for us to look at when we come to the deliberations in that area. So the point I'm making is that, in my question, is that Nydia High may not be what the sub-region ends up with, in which case that could mean that our own view is not quite right.
So there is certainly going to be in meetings in the future, as Future Proof heads closer to during consideration of all these matters, information coming back on that topic. And I think for elected members' purposes, growth projections and indeed the work that our team is doing on growth is something we're constantly and closely monitoring, and we're doing a lot of work looking at our own Hamilton-specific growth projections and how they relate to Nydia High.
That's one of I was just going to come on to that, because I was going to make the point that specifically our staff have, as a result of our discussion at the end of last year, are looking at a projection that in part is based on the numbers of dwellings going in and how they drive the need for infrastructure, in our terms of our own planning and development, which may throw up different answers to Nydia High population projections. So as I do several times a year, I'm questioning whether those figures are right. Are they the ones we should be relying on?
And I think my advice to council is that the LTP is the time to stand back and relook at the fundamental growth assumptions. I think, Councillor Dave, you are quite correct that we're doing a lot of work, and right now our latest work from the team is indicating that the market will supply more dwellings than the Nydia projections for the next year. So in other words, that the market will potentially supply more opportunities for dwellings to be constructed, which is a good outcome. Yeah. We are confident from a city perspective that for the annual plan in the coming year and the following annual plan, it doesn't mean that we then need to stand back and change our underlying growth investment. that is something that we'd review at the LTP. But certainly, the work that Greg Carson's team is doing is certainly far more nuanced in Hamilton's situation, and bringing a lot of machine learning and other intelligence to the table, and will result for the next LTP that we have an even greater level of detail on our growth projections for the Hamilton area and how that relates to future proof as well.
So yeah, that's good, but there's also some other issues coming up in the lift before the next LTP. One of them we discussed yesterday, the Central City, I can't remember what the alphabet soup name the government's given it, that we're going for 201 million for. What's the, if that's going to have an effect on growth, the fact that we're as you say, expecting higher number of dwellings than Nydia High would otherwise show, how can you say that that's not going to affect our need for infrastructure in the next couple of years above the level we've set it at the moment?
And I think my advice to council would be pass the motion, which is effectively reconfirming that the growth assumptions that we have for the annual plan now. We have a chance to revisit that in May, when we'll have more information, and the work that both Future Proof and my team are doing will be more advanced. And Councillor Dave, that would provide the council an opportunity just to revisit to see if there are any adjustments needed to the annual plan based on all that information that's coming together.
I think that's a good point, Paula. Could we have it set down for some specific, more detailed report on that C3 assumption, please, for when we come back to all this?
So what I suggest we do to expedite this is to note in the recommendation that we will by May have that information that you require. That's clumsy wording right there.
Yeah.
An update on our growth projections and an update on our dwelling modelling work and how it relates to the work of Future Proof.
Okay.
Thanks.
Got that, staff?
Thank you.
You might want to help Amy put the words in brackets around that one, please. Martin's gone now, so you were satisfied with that one?
I was satisfied. I'll add to the debate when you do that.
Okay. All right, so we are now, we need a mover. So can you put the recommendation up again, Amy, please? Okay, it's a few spelling mistakes. Okay, cool. So you get the gist of it, councillors? All right, we need a mover and a seconder. Who would like to move this? Otherwise, I'll move it to get. You got some questions, Ewan? Is that a question or debate?
Debate, Mayor Paula. Debate.
Thank you. So I'll move. Do I have a seconder, please? Can't see everybody. Is there a seconder, please?
Yes, Mayor Paula, I'll second. It's Rob here.
Thank you, Councillor Pascoe. All right, we will go into, we've got those hands up are a debate, right? Yeah. Your hand is still up, Dave, so I'm assuming that's debate now.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you. I'll lead as mover in this. Just can we still have the thing up or no? The recommendation up, please, Amy, just to keep my mind on track this late end of the day. Thank you. Just note and thank staff and elected members for the robust interest in these matters. Noting an improvement, a vast improvement in the way that we've been dealing with depreciation over the last few years, and the importance of keeping depreciation appropriately managed. In terms of COVID, I guess, how long is that piece of string in terms of its real assessment, its real impact going forward? What we do know is that we're entering unstable and unpredictable financial times off the back of COVID, but not only COVID. other world events and the effect they're having on the economy. The growth projections, really happy to have those up-to-date projections come to us. We've got time for that. And in respect to inflation, this was a area of considerable debate and exploration. There was a lot of backward and forward with modelling and a lot of good ideas. I want to thank Councillor Rob and Councillor Ewan for getting us to the pointy end of this decision, notwithstanding this slight differences between the preferred motion for Ewan and for Rob. What this is, in fact, is a increase in the value we attribute to inflation, the cost of inflation. And we know from what we see around everywhere in the organisations that we talk to, that inflation is a really big issue. And it's one of the things that we must take seriously, and we must be super cautious in the way we go forward, in my view. So I'm happy to promote this motion. Councillor Pascoe, would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Paula. Look, I also thank the staff for the work that they've done on this, and appreciate the work that Councillor Ewan did earlier today, as well as the caucusing that we've done over the last couple of days to try and get onto the table, particularly in the inflation area, where we think we need to go. It is very much a calculated estimate only. We don't know where inflation is going at the moment, but we certainly know that it is much higher than it's been for many, many years in New Zealand. So we can't just sit on our hands and expect that it's going to be low or it will go away without having any financial impact on the organisation. So I think our end result today is a realistic target, a realistic estimate of where we think we can manage depreciation in the 22-23 year. I also agree with you, Mayor Paula, on the depreciation. It's essential that we keep depreciation at a realistic level too. Roughly, it's now around 90 million, or it will be in that year, around 90 million. And that's very, very close to the staff estimate on average over 10 years of around 85 to 86 million, which is what our renewals costs are. So while they're not one of the same, one does mirror, the depreciation does mirror what we need to keep in our kit and what we need to rate the city for, so that we can maintain our assets at workable and acceptable levels to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McPherson.
Thanks, Mayor Paula. Look, Rob's just used one word importantly in two different areas. This is the word realistic, and that's what we were focusing on when we're discussing both depreciation and inflation. We need to be realistic. It's important to not just use a desktop exercise, but to look at our experience, look at what's going on around the place, and be realistic about the revenue and the expenditure in response to those situations. And the third leg of this motion, the points that I was raising before about the demographic and growth projections, it's just as important to be realistic about them. And I think the evidence is slowly coming out that we haven't exactly been realistic about that. In recent times, we've been following desktop models, which don't cut the mustard as far as looking at Hamilton's real conditions, and probably all growth areas' real conditions, considering that we're growing faster than most parts of New Zealand and have been for a while. It's doubly important that we work on being realistic in those areas. And I thank staff for getting their head around some of that now. We don't have that in advance of this annual plan, the outcomes, but I think the direction of travel as clearly, including from some of Blair's answers before, to say that we have undercooked our growth projections in the past. We need to be more realistic so we can accommodate and plan for growth. It's quite a moving feast. It's going to be very hard to do, because as well as just the standard growth projections, looking at what the market might deliver in a place like Hamilton, you've got to look at things like the effect of the NBS-UD on intensification, government direct funding like the CBD funding I mentioned before, and other areas, plus what we think are more accurate market growth assumptions. So we have to be realistic for all parts of this motion. I'm satisfied that it's coming back to us again with a better look at this other area. So I'm going to support the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Paula. First of all, I do want to say, actually, I've quite enjoyed working with Rob and being able to pick his brain in the areas of finance. There's no doubt he's very capable. And so I've really appreciated that help. So thank you, Rob. I mean, ultimately, Rob and I think we're in the same direction, but we landed on a different spot. Councillor Dave mentioned the issue of being realistic. And I believe my unsuccessful attempt was to try to add a little dollop of more realism. And that's why I preferred continuing the legacy of having a differential between OPEX related inflation and CapEx. And I believe it would have been more appropriate at 7% CapEx and 5% in OPEX. And I believe in terms of realistic, the data shows that those numbers are correct. I remind us 9.32% construction cost index. Currently, CPI is at 5.8. And strategic pay is saying for salaries it's 5%. I think the average person realizes that the economic conditions we're in is troublesome. We've got a war. I would have preferred to have taken an even more conservative approach. And so I can't accept this particular motion. I am a little disappointed because I would have supported the increase in depreciation. I certainly would have supported the reassessment of the impact of COVID. And interestingly, I would have held out and not supported the needy or high demographic because, hey, here's something strange. I actually agree with Councillor Mack on this. He's been going on it for so long over the 20 years he's been here, but I think he's actually right.
Please.
So yeah, look, so I will not be supporting it.
Thank you. Mark's got the timer up, councillors, behind him, so we can get a little bit of a steer. I think it's Martin next.
We need to reset it at 2 minutes, right?
And away, go.
We're away. Thank you. Yes, plus, yeah. Sorry, seriously, I just want to say that I think the vote with regard to the inflation assumptions, as I said, was finely tuned and very close. And also, I think it's a finely tuned assumption in the minds of all councillors. I will say this, I want to thank particularly the chair of the Finance Committee in this area for the gravitas that he has brought to this debate and discussion and analysis. Don't always have to agree with him, but I certainly want to acknowledge the contribution he has made, absolutely. I also will do a shout out to my good colleague and friend, Councillor Ewan, because I think both presentations absolutely reflected, if you like, the horns of the dilemma that we and local government and other organisations are on. And then by a narrow margin, of course, I lent to the assumption that we are putting up in terms of this particular motion. The other thing I want to do a big shout out, and this is really important, I'm, as you know, was the alternate on the hearings of the Future Proof with Dave, and certainly want to commend Dave and highlight the fact that the discussion around reflecting on the NIDIA growth projections is certainly coming through during the Future Proof hearings. And I'm very sort of reassured in terms of now we have a V that staff will report back on growth projections and dwelling projections. And also, I'm very reassured that Blair has, I think, talked about a nimble approach in this area. But I also want to reflect on past years where Councillor Mack, love him or loathe him, has constantly challenged advisors, both in DHB area where he worked and also in the council, around some of those critical assumptions, because they are, of course, extremely important in terms of our calculations.
Well, you keep cutting people off when they're praising me.
Yeah, and please don't be offended if I say time when we come to the end of the time. It's just a reminder, and you know. Yes, yeah. Councillor Hamilton.
My apologies for going over time. I don't normally do that, and I apologise, Your Worship. And sorry, Mark, I took my eyes off the counter.
That's all good. That's all good. We're nearly there. You got the counter going for Ryan, because you know what he's like.
Used up 30 seconds of my time.
Right, go, Councillor Hamilton.
All I want to say is I look forward to seeing that report back on some options around the depreciation, because that's you know, we know that the operating expenses has a direct correlation to our balancing the books everyday costs. So I'm really keen to see if we can chug that down a bit. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Goodness me, that's the record of the day. Good on you. Deputy Mayor Taylor.
Thanks, Paula. Yeah, look, I support the move to increase the inflation. I'll start again. I support the intention to accommodate inflation much more than we were intending to in the original plan, because I think that was really a bit Pollyanna, the predictions that we had for an inflation in the plan, and they would have come back to bite us, and I don't think that would have been responsible governance to let that go. I mentioned earlier that ANZ Chief Economist Sharon Zollner gave a speech yesterday saying that the party's over, and she predicted ugly times ahead in the near future for the New Zealand economy as we tried to hold back galloping inflation. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I think the recommendations put up by Ewan in particular, I think, was something I was comfortable with. Regardless, this here means we have an extra OPEX of 5.4 million next year and capital 6.3 million next year. And we are going to have to really consider this when we debate and vote on the rest of our spending. It's really going to bring that into focus. And I think similar to Ryan, one thing I'm really aware of is if we're pushing out our balanced books by an extra year, that's a very big thing to do at this time, particularly when it costs a hell of a lot to borrow. And that's something that we got away from in the last term, because if you're not balancing your books, then you're basically borrowing to pay for everyday costs, and that's something that we should not be doing. So it's incumbent on us to cut as many costs as we can during these budget talks, and we've just got to cut discretionary funding out. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bunting. No, you're mute, which will probably make your debate even shorter.
No, that's all right. I was just resetting my timer. There we go. No, actually, I'm joking. It's not 3 minutes. Hang on. Doesn't matter. There we go. No, look, I've heard the word realistic bandied around, which is nice. And I guess really this comes down to your subjective view on reality, really. I'm inclined to go with the more conservative model myself. So as such, I'll be supporting Ewan and Deputy Mayor in this one. When I look at the CPI numbers, I look at the supply line issues we're about to have with CapEx. I look at some of the blowouts we've had already. I look at the construction costs, the fact that there's a war on. I think we would be much more prudent to go more conservative. So I will vote against it, because I would have preferred to have seen a 7% budget for inflation with our OPEX. So that's me done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I'm not going to reiterate my debate on this one because, you know, I agree with a lot that has already been said. These are extraordinary times, and so we do need to take extraordinary measures. And I think it's really important, actually, that we ensure, as far as practical, because there's never any black and white in economics. You pitch one economist against another and they'll have a slightly different spin on the world, but all the same, we've got to take good advice and we've got to make sure our assumptions are as accurate as possible so that Hamiltonians can have confidence in our numbers that are in the annual plan. I'm really pleased with the time that we've spent today ensuring that that is in fact the case. So well done, everyone. As I've said, this is going to inform the draft budget. So the ink isn't dry on the paper, and that gives us the opportunity to really understand greater levers in what's happening economically in Hamilton and in New Zealand in these really unusual times. So thank you all for what has been a very constructive but robust debate today. So we'll go to the tick or the cross, please. And then we're going to finish for the day, I think, just about. Hang on.
The motion is carried, noting Councillor Wilson, Councillor Donovan, Deputy Mayor Taylor and Councillor Bunting are dissenting.
Thank you. And look, staff, I know you would have liked us to get a slightly bit further through these recommendations today, but I honestly think we've had a really long day and it's the end of a long week. And so I'm going to actually adjourn the meeting at this point in time. But I do want to thank everyone, thank the staff. You've been backward and forward, in and out of the room, doing adjustments and modelling and all of that really good stuff. And we do appreciate that because I'm sure you didn't have a full hour lunch hour like when we had 2 hours over the lunch break. So we do appreciate you. Appreciate my colleagues. I really like the way that we were able to navigate some actually pretty complex stuff and do it in a constructive way. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Angela, you go, girl. You go and dance and get those medals. We're looking forward to some success for you.
Yeah.
And everyone else, see those who are coming to the night glow, see you. And